Okay, good morning to everyone. So, right, today we are going to talk about cost assignment. Like in the previous lecture, you may have heard about the general background of management accounting, why management accounting is needed for us, and uh, how the information generated by the accounting system is used for various types of managerial decision making. So I'll just try to explain or continue the discussion in the medium of English, as I told you last week. But nevertheless, you can ask questions in Sinhala. We can talk. I will sometimes explain in Sinhala as well, like not detailed explanation, but then and there, when it is necessary, a summary of uh, explanation. Otherwise, so I'll just continue in speaking in English. Right now, the today's title is cost assignment. So these two words are not difficult words. First, we'll try to understand the meaning of cost and assignment. Simply speaking, cost is the value of resources sacrificed for a particular purpose, for anything. Resource could be actually resources are not simply money. Resources are the other things. They are measured in money. That is how it becomes a cost. When you produce a particular good, you need raw material. So that's a resource. In a way, that resource is characterized by money. So how much is it? How much does it cost to produce a loaf of bread? You need a certain amount of flour. So how much is it? Actually, with money, you can't prepare a bread, but you need flour. So flour is bought. So therefore, we really incorporate a value, financial value, into the uh, um, that particular resource sacrificed. Um, why do we need the word assignment? Assignment is also a normal word, general word that you see in English. When you assign something, assigning, general meaning is setting aside. You set aside something. You assign some money for in your day. Just take your life, day-to-day activities. If you assign something, okay, I assign this much money for food. I assign this much for this. I assign my time, maybe 2 hours for playing. So therefore, so we can understand the meaning of assignment in a very simple way. It's not a big deal. Even assignment that you do in your different subjects and tasks assigned. So once it's assigned, assignment entails with something, entails something. You can't assign something in the sky. You have to assign something to some specified thing. ඒක පැහැදිලි නේද? Right? Assignment කියන එක අපි assign කරන්නේ හඳුනාගත්තු දෙයකට. It is not simple or abstract or the thing. It is a sign for something. Then what we are assigning in this particular case, not anything else but cost. Then costs are assigned to something. We will discuss what they are later on. In the first place, we know that we are dealing with costs. Costs mean the value, financial value of sacrificed resources. These financial values of sacrificed resources are assigned are assigned to something. We will discuss that what that is. So these are the learning objectives. Many objectives are there. Even though there are many, you need not to worry. In summary, it's not something big, because we have to have something like to assign our costs. Where do we assign costs? Then how do we identify all those costs? Again, different methods are used in management accounting. In real life organizations, without classifying or clarifying different methods, organizations use different costing systems or assignment methods. But for the understanding purposes for this particular lesson, we divide them into two, called traditional method and activity-based costing system. So in summary, what we are going to learn, our learning outcomes um, are simple. They are identification of costs and assigning them into something called cost objects. Later we will discuss. And by using different methods, those methods are divided into two groups called traditional and activity based. Up to traditional costing or the cost assignment basis, you may have touched upon, not really may, you have already learned these things in advanced level. Here we try to discuss a little bit with more detail and with some justifications. But the activity based costing system, so you have not learned in advanced level. For this particular purpose, costs are divided into two. Or in other words, we can say that costs are classified into two groups. What are they? Direct cost and indirect cost. When we use the words direct and indirect, then there should be something to which we assign cost. Always you can recall the word assignment. You are assigning costs to something. What is that something? It is a cost object. Cost object. So what is a cost object? It could be anything. It could be anything, right? It could be a product. It could be a particular a task. It could be an organization. For example, if you take our university, right? Within the university, since that is a public university, sometimes we are not that much concerned about how costs are assigned, how cost is being incurred for different cost objects. But if we want the resources sacrifice for running all the programs in the university, we can assign the total or the value of resources sacrificed into different cost object. The most easiest cost object in the university, we can say University of Sri Jayawardenepura, how much money has been used for different programs in a particular year. So 2020, how much money was used by the university? Then what is the cost object? Cost object becomes the university. Say so much millions of money. That information may not be useful to take some decisions, but there is a use. What's the use? Then we can compare how much money has been allocated by the government to run the University of Sri Jayawardena in 2020 compared to 2019. Hmm? So whether there is an increase or not, something like that. Or maybe as a percentage of total money allocated for education. So therefore, um, it depends on the cost object, but it's very obvious. You can see when we take the cost object as the cost object as the university, the use of that information, if managers, who are the managers, maybe vice chancellors or head of the departments, dean, or maybe UGC or Ministry of Higher Education, the use of that information, cost assignment cost to the cost object of university would be very little. With that amount, they can't take decisions. So how much money has been spent for that and this? You got it? So therefore, now we can go to next cost object. If you want, we can divide this or allocate or assign this cost into different faculties. Then we know among faculties which are how much has been assigned to each faculty. You can compare, this faculty got this much, so highest amount has gone to medical faculty, next to science, next to commerce. So likewise, I do not know, I do not have any statistics, but likewise you can compare. Again, you can justify, so why the biggest amount goes for medical faculty? Because of these reasons. So otherwise, there may be issues. It does not mean that it should be always equally divided among different faculties. So again, cost object could be a department within a particular faculty. Cost object could be a particular degree program. Hmm. Some departments, so as of now, all the departments have only one program. So we'll take the example of accounting department. Then accounting department could be a cost object, right? But we need to have a system to trace these costs. මේ cost ඔක්කොම අපිට identify කරගන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙන්නට ඕනේ department එක. අපේ costing system එකේ university එක ඇතුලේ recording system record කරන විදිහට accounting department එකට කොච්චරක් වෙන් වෙනවද කියලා හොයන්න බැරි නම් then there is no use. Now you can understand. So I'm trying to uh, um, clarify this situation with a real life example where you are also exposed to. So what is the cost for the Department of Accounting? Within the Department of Accounting, again, main degree program is the BSc Accounting degree program. Other than that, we have some other programs. What are they? Master's program. And there are two computer-based diploma programs. So at least now we have 4 programs. Other than that, some other activities are also being run, such as activities pertaining to curriculum development, activities pertaining to or in connection with students, body, that is FMA. Likewise, there could be many different activities. Again, if we want, so then cost object could be a program or an activity. Now we'll come to the program of accounting degree program. Within the accounting degree program, then if you want, you can have a cost object of 1 year. What is the cost for 1 year? Running the program for 1 year. For all 4 years, cost for 1 year may vary from other years, depending on the tasks and the complexities and the sophistication of the costs involved. So this might help you to understand the meaning of cost object. Then again, we can go down to further within the degree program, so cost of a particular year, or even cost object could be a particular service. What is the service? So in the degree program, we will provide, say you additional student supports, maybe student contact hours are assigned when, or student counseling service. So how much or is allocated or assigned for student counseling? That is, the cost object becomes counseling, that is a service. Even lecturing, how much money is sacrificed or resources are sacrificed for lecturing? That's also a separately identified part of the program. So cost of lecturing, therefore the cost object becomes lecturing. How do you measure it? So entire amount, that is for all the degree programs, or how much money has been spent for lecturing for 1 year, for one lecturer, for 1 hour. So likewise, you can divide depending on the requirement, your decision making requirement. Now you can understand how and why these things are being done. Being a public university, sometimes we are not that much concerned about how much money, because even though this is free education for us, it's not really free, because this cost is borne by the entire population, people in this country. So the difference is how we bear the cost. So getting a degree in a public university, the cost is borne by the general public through their tax money. So that's what we call public finance, public money. But it is good if we have this information, right? So for various cost object, what I just told you, cost object can be anything. Even if you go further to student level, what is the now cost of making a graduate? In that particular case, it's not that easy. Again, all the costs of lecturing you have to take, that is the cost object. And maybe to great extent, when we take a cost of a student, very difficult to identify how much money is being spent for student, because you are not given any money, but you are given some resources. If that is the case, it could be easily traced. Otherwise, it would not be easy it would not be easy to trace. In the case of lecturing, even our salary can be identified. Okay, this is the value of resources given for lecturers. Then the cost object, that particular service, can be identified to some extent easily. But student, what is the cost of a graduate? Tracing will not be easy. Okay, now I hope that it is clear what is meant by a cost object. Simply speaking, cost object can be anything, anything to which, as long as cost can be traced. That's the word. Cost can be traced either directly or indirectly. So if any costs can be assigned to a cost object or can be traced directly in response to in corresponding to the volume, so that's called direct. So very basic nature of direct costs. Direct cost varies when volume increases sometimes, and again, as long as the cost object is clearly identified, direct cost can be easily mentioned. Even in previous case, direct cost of lecturing. Actually, the biggest part of our today's discussion deals with not with direct cost, but with indirect cost. We face lots of problems when we assign indirect costs. indirect cost. Why? It is not that easy to assign. For example, what would be the cost of an undergraduate, maybe accounting undergraduate? Very difficult to trace. Lots of, so what about the university management, maintenance, even lecturer's salary? How much money should be allocated? So as far as my salary is concerned, it is, if I lecture only for accounting graduates, okay, I can put it there and divide it by number of students. If I lecture at the master program and other programs, oh my goodness, then it would not that be easy to take it. So you need to have a particular basis. So therefore now we will move on to that part. Actually, the more attention goes on indirect costs. These indirect costs are also known as overheads. So why they become difficult to be assigned to cost object, mainly due to its nature. It cannot be traced. What is the nature? Indirect costs cannot be traced directly to a particular cost object. That is the thing. Therefore, we need to use a particular basis. That's it. What are those bases? This is what we are going to learn. In simple definition again, like the cost assignment task can be divided into two, depending on two situations. What are these two situations? The situation number one is a single product situation. The other one is a multiple product situation. Now, if you take the, hello, someone's mic is on, but if you have any question, you can ask. The mic mute karanna. Right. So the single product situation, if particular organization manufactures or makes produce a single product, actually cost assignment is not going to be a difficult task. Because everything can be identified with respect to that particular cost object. We'll take a small example, very simple example. Again, producing breads. Even in a bakery for producing breads, the single that like, so you can say that, okay, so that particular organization makes a single product. What's it? Bread. But we know that even producing or making breads, there would not be only a standard type of bread. There are many types. So that type of bread, this type of bread, so many other different stuff. So you come out with different products, even with one single product. So what I just want to tell you, in real life organizations, it is hard, extremely not possible to see an organization which comes out with a single product, unique product. If there is a unique product, a single product, actually we need not to worry about cost assignment, because everything can be pooled into that product. For the time being, we assume that there is a bakery. That bakery manufactures only one type of bread, maybe sliced bread, or what we call tati palm, right? Whatever. So one type of bread, that's it. Then all the costs may be direct, indirect, so need not to talk about. So whatever the resources or the resources sacrificed for manufacturing this thing can be divided by the number of beds. So that's very easy. We need not to worry. So, but in the real life, that's not the case. When it comes to, say, think of technology and multi-product environment, multinational companies, so many production lines, even with one product type, so many different models, sizes. Just think of the even small item that you use when computers, mobile phones. So how many varieties, how many sizes, even the same mobile phone so varies with the size of memory, so different configurations, even minor change in a particular configuration will result a different product. So therefore, the real life, even though I just took this example, comparison between single and multiple, real life, we do actually deal with organizations which manufacture multiple products. Therefore, single one is not a reality. Because of the multiple products, cost assignment is not that easy. If it were a single product, so all the costs, irrespective of the way how the production takes place, finally total cost is divided by the volume. But in the case of multiple products, situation is a different. Product 1, 2, and 3. No matter how many products are there in your organization, 1, 2, 3, up to n, maybe 1,000. Some organization maybe 10,000, 20,000, or that much. Direct cost, dealing with direct cost is not a big deal, because it becomes direct as long as it can be traced to each product. So therefore, it is easy. It goes like this. Therefore, our task, what we are going to learn mainly about this within the cost assignment, that is indirect cost. How are we going to assign indirect cost into these products? In this example 1, 2, 3, we have two options. One option is take all the indirect costs into a single cost pool, what we call cost pool. It's a place. It could be a department, it could be all the processes, but we do not worry that much about its relevance. We put everything into one place, indirect cost. If you can't trace directly to a particular product, everything else could be is put into a different cost pool. For example, what is the cost of an undergraduate in a public university, or more specifically University of Sri Jayawardenepura? We take all the students, maybe 5,000 students. If bursary or any other scholarship money is given, so directly traceable. Or if any other materials provided to you, or whatever the things provided by the university to each and every student, all those things are direct. So we identify. Rest, the bulk, huge amount of cost would be indirect. Management, lecturing, and all those things. Put everything into a single cost pool, millions of money, finally divide it by the number of students and say that, okay, indirect cost for producing an undergraduate is this much. But you can understand with that example also, degree programs are not similar, not homogeneous, faculties are not similar. So therefore, if we have a single cost pool and try to allocate, assign cost to uh, cost objects, that might not provide you precise information. ඒක පැහැදිලි නේද? අපි ඔක්කොම cost, indirect costs, direct cost අතහැරලා ඔක්කොම indirect costs එක pool එකකට දාලා ඒක volume එකෙන් බෙදලා දැම්මොත් may not represent, ඒක අර products වල cost එක identify කරගන්න හොඳ basis එකක් නොවෙන්න පුළුවන්. So therefore, we have an option, another option, that is to have so many different cost pools. ඒවට අපි කියනවා cost centers කියන්න පුළුවන්. මොනවා හරි අපි ඔය cost pool කියලා කියන්නේ අපි දාගත්තු නමක් විතරයි. then 1 2 3 4 5 whatever. එතකොට faculty අනුව වෙන් කරලා බෙදා ගන්න පුළුවන්. nature එක අනුව වෙන් කරලා බෙදා ගන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ඒකේ පොඩි systematic ගතියක් තියෙනවා compared to the previous one. But nevertheless, everything depends on the significance of indirect cost. That is the thing you have to understand. For example, um, in a particular product, direct cost is say 100 rupees. 100 rupees. In a particular given year, you produce only 10 items. 10 items. Direct cost for one item is 100 into 10 and 1000 rupees, maybe millions, 1000, 1000 million, that is 1 billion. Assume that in order to manufacture these 10 products, if all the other indirect costs is simply just 1 million compared to 1 billion, all the indirect costs become 1 million. Then no matter how you assign this 1 million among 10 products, which has already a direct cost of 1 billion, that means 1000 millions. 1000 million වෙන් කරලා තියෙනවා product 10කට. So එකකට එතකොට even 100 million. ඒක ඇතුලේ 1 මිලියනයක් බෙදනවා 10කට. So ඒක කොහොමද බෙදන්නේ කියන එක. ඒක පූල් එකකට දාලා බෙදලා පූල් 500කට දාලා බෙදුවත් අවසානයේදී ඉම්පැක්ට් එක ලොකු වෙනසක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So දැන් අපි ගමු උදාහරණයක් ඔය යුනිවර්සිටි එකේ ඉස්සරහා අපිට විකුණනවා කෑම වර්ගනේ ලන්ච් පැකට්ස්. එතන ප්‍රොඩක්ට් එක ගත්තාම මේ ප්‍රොඩක්ට්ස් වර්ග තුනක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රධානම ලන්ච් පැකට් එකක් vegetable, fish, chicken ඔය විදිහට. ඒතර ඒකේ direct cost එක ගත්තාම direct cost එක වැඩි. මොනවද කියලා යොදන ආහාරවල අඩංගු මිල ගණන් ගත්තාම වෙනස් වෙන. ඒ අනුව ඒකේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ප්‍රයිස් එකත් වෙනස් කරගන්නවා. කොහොමද? chicken එකට කොහොමද? fish lunch packet එකක් වෙනස් වෙනවා. vegetable වෙනස්. ඇයි? Mainly due to the significance of the direct cost. Indirect cost එක කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන් උයන්න පිහන්න මහන්සි වෙන හැටි. ගෙදර කොච්චර කාලයක් යනවද? කොච්චර බඩු මුට්ටු ඒවට වැය කරපු කාලේ. සමහර වෙලාවෙදී ඒ ඉන්ඩිරෙක්ට් කොස්ට් එක ඒගොල්ලෝ ගණන් ගන්නෙත් නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ගණන් ගත්තත් ඒකේ අර වර්ගය අනුව whether it's going to be vegetable, fish, chicken මේක ලොකුවට වෙනස් වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ. හැබැයි එක ලන්ච් පැකට් එකක් නම් හදාගෙන ඇවිල්ලා විකුණන්නේ අර ඉන්ඩිරෙක්ට් කොස්ට් එක ගොඩයි. ලන්ච් පැකට් 100ක් හදනකොට ඉන්ඩිරෙක්ට් කොස්ට් එක අඩුයි. So therefore now you can understand the fact that why cost assignment is going to be a concern for us. It's going to be a concern. අර අපි දැන් simple example එකෙන් තේරුම් ගත්තට අපි අවසානයේදී කතා කරන්නේ large scale or manufacturing organization including multinational organization. When it comes to multinational organizations, large scale organization, actually indirect cost is becoming more significant. In many cases, indirect cost nowadays, mainly due to the technological development, indirect cost is huge. If you take organization like Microsoft, Amazon, and likewise almost of all IT giants in the world, actually indirect cost is huge. Indirect cost is huge. Then we need to have sophisticated methods. That is the reason why later on we will be discussing system like activity-based costing came in. So even with the traditional method, those big organization, huge organization will not be able to assign cost in a meaningful way that would help them to take decision. Had they taken decision based on the traditional method, their businesses would have collapsed already. Now you have to understand the fact that significance of indirect cost, it's becoming more and more important. So this chart also explains you how it happens. So therefore direct costs are directly traced or assigned to cost objects, but indirect costs are not directly assigned. It goes through a particular process, what we call cost allocation process. There are many cost allocation processes. ඒක තමයි අපි දැන් කතා කරන්න යන්නේ. Traditional allocation method versus activity based allocation method. ඒ methods කොච්චර තිබුණත් methods ගණනාව ගොඩක් වුණත් again we can summarize these allocations into two types mainly. Type number one is called cause and effect. ඒක අපි පැහැදිලි කරන්න යොදාගත්තු එකක්. Cause and effect. Cause and effect කියලා කියන්නේ we allocate indirect costs to cost objects on a main argument that why that much is allocated to that particular object. We find a particular cause, hetu. So sometimes we can call this thing as a driver. So there is something that drives cost. For example, indirect costs. Say we'll take the um, say the computer lab. Computer lab is being used by students. Computer lab is being used by students. So how much should be allocated or assigned to one student? Then if we want, we can come to an argument here. Okay, in our department there are 200 students. We will maintain a particular logbook and mark how many students come every day, maybe with the identification of your identity card or any other thing. So then we can see same student is coming many times or different students are coming. So therefore, really we can calculate with respect to student hours. How many hours have been, so total hours, so lab is open for 8 hours a day, multiply it by the number of years or the number of days where the computer lab was open, and now you have hours. Then we can take that hours. Okay, for 1 hour total cost is divided by the total hour, therefore 1 hour this much. Then we have a course. 1 hour, it is easy, there is a rationale. Then for one student, so again we can go for student those who have used more hours. Okay, for this student in this particular program in this particular year, okay, so many hours, 20% of the hours. So therefore the 20% of the cost can be assigned for those students, right? පැහැදිලිද ඒක? එතකොට එතන ලොජික් එකක් තියෙනවා. එතන බේසිස් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒකේ අඩුපාඩු තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. The cause and effect does not always tell you that it is perfectly accurate, it's more precise and 100% accurate. No, it's not. But it tells you that there is a basis. So cause and effect. So then when the number of hours increases, cost increases. So likewise, so that actually in this lesson, what's most important is not the real calculation, even though we deal with calculation. When you go to real organization, these are the decisions that you have to take and not the calculation. Calculations can be done nowadays by using computers. Don't worry about the calculation that much. But how do we take that particular decision depends on your epistemological thinking. So your argument, how you look at these issues. එනිසා අපිට දැන් තර්කයක් මතු කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඔව්, එහෙනම් in the cost allocation, actually cost and effect allocation would be more appropriate than the other one. Why? The second allocation is really arbitrary allocation. ඒකට එහෙම බේස් එකක් තියෙනවා. that base is not logical. උදාහරණයකදී දැන් ඔය මම කිව්ව එකේදී ස්ටුඩන්ට්ස්ලා එනවා use කරනවා. හැබැයි අන්තිමට a total cost එක බෙදනවා number of students. That is arbitrary. එතකොට example එකේ ඉන්න පුළුවන් students ලා 30% student they have never visited the lab. දැන් පැහැදිලිද? So they have never visited the lab, but we take an arbitrary decision to divide the total cost by the number of students in order to determine the cost of a student. Then there are 30% of students who have never entered into the lab, but there is a particular cost assignment. මම හිතන්නේ ඒ උදාහරණය ඔයගලන්ට පැහැදිලි වෙනවා මේ cause and effect එකයි arbitrary allocation එකයි කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා. ඉතින් organization වල ඔය දෙකම තියෙනවා. ඒකයි weaknesses තියෙනවා. ඒකයි අපි decision ගන්නකොට ඒවා පුළුවන් තරම් minimize කරන්නට ඕනේ. More precise costing system, it is good to go for cause and effect allocation. Then right, cause and effect already I explained. Now we quickly move on to this particular activity 3.1. A Natura Private Limited, the following cost items are usually reported in the manufacturing records: natural extracts for cream production, other raw materials, so maybe particular cream, maybe assume that a particular face cream, plastic tub used for packing these things, so container in other words. The quality inspection, there may be a particular section service is provided to inspect the quality. Wages for machine operators, so the machine operators may be whoever who takes this particular cream after being extracted and put them into containers, so something like small machines used to produce this particular cream. Then the electricity cost, machine maintenance cost. Then your task is identify which of the above cost items can be directly traceable and which are not directly traceable. So since the time matters, so quickly we will move on to the answer. Direct tracing and cost allocation. So we'll take the first one, natural extract. So of course, so this is the main ingredient of the cream. Therefore, it is direct. Why? With respect to each cream tub, cream container, there is a specific amount of cream. Maybe particular extract 1 gram or 2 gram, whatever. Then the other raw materials, different ingredients are used. Then we know exactly how much is being used for this. Take the nowadays very famous gossiping product, Dhammika Paneer, right? So we know how much bee honey has been added on, how much nutmegs, that what we call sadika, has been. So I'm just joking, right? So, but that the amount should be there, right? But we do not know the power of Kali Manio, Kali Ammage power එකක් දැම්ම කියනවනේ. We do not know how much of that power has been included. But the other ingredient can be identified. Direct tracing. Then the plastic container, of course, straightforward. Quality inspection. If you want to inspect quality, sometimes all the containers or all the tubs may not be tested. There is a particular department, maybe one person, quality manager, he or she randomly takes 1 or 2, or maybe as he or she has been advised, so he or she may take, quality inspector may take a random sample and check. How do we allocate? Therefore, it is not directly traceable. But if all the items are tested by a particular quality supervisor, then that salary directly goes to a direct tracing. But normally we don't do like that. If there is any cost, it should be direct. Then the wages for machine operators, this again arguable, it depends. But here it means that machine machine operators cost කිව්වහම මේ ඒ ඔක්කොම direct කියන්න එපා. මෙතන අපි only on the assumption that these machines are used to either bottle or to extract something, and their salaries vary according to the number of items produced. ඒ මොනොත් තමයි ඒක direct වෙන්නේ. Otherwise, that salary would be indirect cost allocation. Wages for factory cleaners, then of course it's um, indirect. Electricity, likewise. And remember, we used a particular word for indirect cost called overheads. Remember, overheads. Direct costs are direct costs. Indirect costs are also called as overheads. How did that particular word come into practice? Actually, it dates back to our old production situations. In the past, especially after the Industrial Revolution, especially after the Industrial Revolution, manufacturing organizations, so organizations started manufacturing in large scales, in factories. But in one factory, one building, different types of products were manufactured. Then they realized that, oh, there are costs that can be identified or traced with respect to each and every product. But other than that, there are costs which cannot be traced directly. For example, electricity cost. Electricity. Because lights are on all the time, 24 hours, or as long as the machines are being. But that electricity is being used, the lighting is applicable for producing all the goods. So therefore, they came out with a concept called, okay, we produce goods on the floor, production factory, floor cost, then directly traceable. But all the other costs, we assume that they are above our head. Here, overhead means not our individual's head, head of the production. So you have the production on the floor, the head of the production, over the heads of these production, other costs are incurring. So that is how that particular word came into practice, the overhead, overheads. So now we have two methods, as I just told you, traditional and activity based. In a way, uh, both, though we call activity based costing is the new one, that is also a bit old, and to some extent there is a debate. You can argue whether, hello, yes, whether it is new one or old one. Some argument is there that is also now traditional, but nevertheless, for our understanding purposes, so we have traditional and activity. So simple difference between activity based and traditional. Traditional එකේදී අපි use කරන්නේ මේ cost allocate කරන්න මොකක් හරි volume base එකක්. ඒ volume එක number of products වෙන්න පුළුවන්, number of hours වෙන්න පුළුවන්, ඒ වගේ එකක් තමයි. Mainly we use number of either machine hours, mainly three volumes are used, either units, number of units, number of machine hours, number of labor hours. ඒ නිසා ඒකට අපි ට්‍රැඩිෂනල් ඒක ලේසි නිසා සහ ට්‍රැඩිෂනලි පාවිච්චි කරපු නිසා ඒක අපි කියනවා. නමුත් අපි activity based වලට එනකොට ඊට එහා ගිය more sophisticated activities are being used. එතනත් hours තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, but hours are also taken on the assumption that whether these hours drive particular cost, cause and effect, whether particular cost is driven by that cost is the effect, base or the driver is the cause. Then for decision making purposes, some organizations so do not worry about indirect cost that much. ඒගොල්ලන් අවධානය යොමු කරන්නේ direct costing වලට විතරයි. දැන් අර මම කලින් ගත්ත උදාහරණේ just producing lunch packets. ඒ වගේ ආයතනයක නැත්නම් ගෙදරක නම් lunch packets හදන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන් ලොකුවට අර utensils වලට යන cost එක තමුන්ගේ ශ්‍රමයට යන පිරිවැය එතකොට gas tankiය වියදම එච්චර ලොකුවට හිතන්නේ නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලන් decision එක ගන්නේ කෙලින්ම හාල් ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ අදාළ ingredients වලට යන cost එක දිහා බලලා. පැහැදිලිද? ඒ අනුව ඒගොල්ලෝ බලනවා lunch packet එකක් එළියට ගන්නකොට ඒ ගිය කෑම බීම වලට ගත්තු මුදල් ටික වියදම් කරලා lunch packets ගානෙන් බෙදපුවාම එනවා මෙච්චරක් ගිහින්. එහෙනම් රුපියල් 80ක් ගිහින් එහෙනම් 100ට විකුණනවා. ඒතර යාගේ decision එක ගන්න මම මේ කියන කාරණේ හොඳට තේරුම් ගන්න. decision එක ගන්න අර gas tankiයට කොච්චර මොකද ඒක gas ගෙදරත් වෙනවා. ඒක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ගෙනාවන්න gas එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒගොල්ලෝ නිකන් හිටියා නම් ඒ ගෙදර වැඩ කරන අය මොකුත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඒ indirect cost they do not calculate indirect cost in taking the decision. What is the decision? Decision of setting the price. ඒ ඉස්සරහට ඇවිල්ලා කුඩයක් අරගෙන ගහලා lunch packet එක ළමයිට විකුණනකොට they set the price as 100 150 200 whatever. They have mainly considered only the direct cost. එවැනි system එකකට එතරම් අපි system එකක් ඒගොල්ලෝ නැතත් if we identify the system that such a system is called direct costing system. Direct costing system. Why? That indirect cost that is not that much concern for them and the indirect cost is not such significant for that process. ඒකට අපි ඒක worry වෙන්න ඕනේ. හැබැයි අපි same example if you take the same example of just a manufacturer the producing lunch packets. If you buy a lunch packet from Gihan's restaurant at Vijayram, the same thing, but the price is different. It means that sometimes the quality also may vary, but apart from the quality, in their costing system, they consider not only the direct but also indirect cost. Therefore, their costing system is not the direct costing system. They take the other absorptions as well. ඒ නිසා තමයි price එක උස්සන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ. ඒගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා lunch packet එකට මෙච්චරයි වියදම යන්නේ 100යි 250ට විකුණනවා. Why? Another 100 maybe for other indirect costs. Then hotel එකක් අපි ගත්තා. Same example. I'm just going to a big hotel. You have a lunch at 100 rupees in front of the university by having a packet, or little bit more formal organization like Dhyan restaurant, a little bit high. So you have the same lunch at 5-star hotel, 2,000 or 5,000. Why? Maybe higher margin also there. But there is a logic. Camel cost maybe the same 100 500 or 200, not more than that, maybe 500 or maybe buffet, but huge indirect cost is there. So they need to run this or maintain the hotel, salaries for chef and all these things. So huge maintenance cost is there inside calculation method එකට අනුව. So they absorb some money for the lunch in the very proper money. Inside tamai hotel, big hotels or formal organization, if you take the gross profit margin, that gross profit margin is huge. Hotel එකක අය කරන මිලයි කෑම එකකට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ direct cost එක අය අරන් බලපුවාම gross profit margin sometime 100%, 200%, something like. If you look at the annual reports of hotels, on average, gross profit margin is above 80%. Above 80%. එකෙන් අදහස් කරන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට 80% profit එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. Net profit එකට එනකොට either negative or maybe 5%. Most of the cases losses. මම හිතන්නේ දැන් මේ වගේ ඔයගොල්ලන් හිතාපුවාම තමයි තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ මේකේ කොහොමද මේක මේ යෙද වෙන්නේ කියන එක. එහෙම නැතුව මේක කටපාඩම් කරලා what is a direct costing system, absorption costing system කියන එක ඒකෙන් අපිට ලැබෙන ඉගෙනුම් ඵලය අඩුයි. Then why do you use this information? So why do you, like in the previous example, lunch packet example නේද? For different purposes. අර ඉස්සරහා කුඩේ යට විකුණන lunch packet විකුණන අම්මාගේ decision එක තමයි just selling this thing just to earn some money. That's it. එතකොට යාට ඕනේ direct cost. හැබැයි ගියාන් restaurant and 5-star hotel purpose is different. ඒගොල්ලන්ට තීරණය කරන්න වෙනවා හිට competitive prices compared to other hoteliers and for different occasions and different types of buffet or the lunch. Likewise, so many complex and sophisticated decisions are involved with them. So therefore, depending on these two types of requirements, different costs are there and different costing systems are used. However, finally, we can see different types of costing system depending on the sophistication, the cost side. Even you can take the same example, starting from that lunch packet selling in front of the university and 5-star hotel. So as far as the processes are concerned, that Amma's lunch packet, it's not complex, it's not sophisticated. But if it goes to a 5-star hotel, it is sophisticated. So higher the sophistication, you need to go for more sophisticated costing system. So lower the sophistication, so you can have very simple system. So that's the idea. ඒක මහා ලොකු එකක් නෙමෙයිනේ. All right. Now, first one I will skip it because assigning direct cost is straight and simple task. Therefore, I'm not going to worry about it. Then the second one, now we are going to deal with traditional costing system, or going to deal with overheads. You see, අපි කවුරුත් මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අහුවේ නැහැ නේද? ඇයි මේ overheads කියලා කියන්නේ කියලා නේද? ඇත්තට මේක indirect cost කිව්වා නම් ඉතින් මේ overheads කියලා කියන්නේ මේ පරණ වචනයක්. ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ, still we can use it because it has a meaning. අර logic එක තාම ගැලවිලා නැහැ නේ. Still they are the cost above the heads of products. But here, as I just told you, we can use single overhead rate for the organization as a whole, or known as blanket overhead rate or plant-wide rate. Recall, අර මතක් කරන්න මම ඉස්සෙල්ලා graph පෙන්නුවේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට chart. If I just go back to that, this is this single cost pool means plant-wide rate. So this is the departmental rates, pool 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same thing. You see, yeah, plant-wide. So plant or department, the blanket one. So number one, single pool means single overhead. Plant-wide means we have different plants or departments. අපිට කැමති එකක් කියන්න පුළුවන්. Unit එකක්, cost center, likewise processes. So anything, it could be anything. එකක් වෙනුවට ගොඩක් ගන්නවා. ඒක ඇතුලේ තියෙන්න පුළුවන් again, if I summarize it, no matter whether it is single or plant-wide, there could be logical allocation and arbitrary allocation. So වඩා හොඳයි අපිට logical පැත්තට යන්න පුළුවන්. We'll take this example. I'll give you a few minutes. So just to I'll read the question with you and allow you to attempt. Quickly work it out. Total manufacturing overheads in a company estimated to be this much. So overhead, 9 million. Again, I have highlighted the word estimated, forecasted, budgeted. ඇයි මේකත් හොඳට තේරුම් ගන්න. අර when the sophistication increases, organizations will have to use budgeted information and calculate their price for different purposes. ටෙන්ඩර් එකක් දාන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ, වෙනවා හරි කාටරි quotation එකක් දෙන්න වෙන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ විවිධ අවශ්‍යතාවලට practically organizations use estimated cost. ඒ නිසා තමයි to great extent දැන් උදාහරණ බත් අම්මගේ එක්සාම්පල් එකේදී මේ වගේ estimations අපි යන්නේ නැහැ. Simple cost නේද? පැහැදිලිද? එතෙන්දී even if you take into account the indirect cost, that is actual, not the estimated. Actual එක අරගෙන බෙදනවා. If there is no sophistication, it is easy why we deal with actual. But when the sophistication increases, sometimes in real life decision making, we take estimated cost. හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. If there is no estimation, it is actual. Right. So this is 9 million. Direct labor hours are taken as the allocation base. දැන් ඔන්න traditional method එකේ volume එක විදිහට අපි ගන්න direct labor hours. මොකද ඉස්සර even now සාමත්‍ය ආගියු කරන ඇත්තම ඔය කිව්ව මේ concepts ආවේ direct labor, direct machine hours, units අර කියන කාර්මික විප්ලවයෙන් පස්සේ large scale manufacturing වලදී. එතෙන්දී හැම තිස්සෙම පඩි ගෙව්වේ පැයකට එහෙම නැත්නම් product එකකට. එතකොට නිකන් මිනිස්සුන්වත් පාවිච්චි කළේ machine. නමුත් අදටත් එහෙම තමයි සමහර අවස්ථාවලනේ. පැය ප්‍රමාණයට අනුව ගෙවනවා, machines විදිහට පාවිච්චි කරනවා. එතකොට still there is a validity if that's the case. So direct labor hour එක තමයි dominant cost driver එක. එතකොට cost එක ඒක වැඩිපුර labor ඉන්නවා නම් labor hours වැඩි වෙන cost එක වැඩි. Therefore direct labor hours are taken as the allocation base. Simple, right? But it's traditional one. Total number of direct labor hours has been estimated. Again, ඒගොල්ලන් estimate කරලා තියෙනවා for this particular period 600 labor hours needed. Total estimated cost is this much. හැබැයි manufacturing process මේ 9 million is going to be incurred in 3 departments. Department A, B, C. Likewise, 2 million, 6 million, 1 million. Again, this 600,000 hours are estimated to be used in 200 or in department A, B, C as 200, 200, 200 equally. Product Z, one of the products requires 20 direct labor hours in department C, but does not pass through departments A and B. මෙන්න මේ paragraph එකට එන්න කලින් situation is very simple. 9 million තියෙනවා 600, so that has to be allocated by using 600 hours. 600,000 මේ විදිහට use වෙනවා. 9 million මේ විදිහට separate කරගන්න. එහෙනම් අපිට එක hour එකකට කීයද කියලා හදා ගන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි මේ 600, when 600 hours are being used for 9 million cost, there could be so many different products. Among those products, එක product එකක් අපි ගන්නවා Z. Samahara products may go through all the departments. Some products may not go through all the departments. The Z product is also one that which does not go through department A and B. එතකොට ඔයගලන්ට logic එකක් හැදෙන්නට ඕන මෙතෙන්දීම. එහෙනම් it would be more logical to assign indirect cost for the product Z only by considering department C allocation, not A and B. එහෙනම් issue එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් if you take single overhead rate by considering entire 9 million and entire 600 hours and multiply it by 20 hours, that cost would not be logical. But if you take 1 million and 200 hours, that would be more logical, even though there are weaknesses in that as well. So your task is, so do a quick calculation. If the calculate the overhead cost of 1 unit of Z, overhead cost මේ 1 Z එකේ එක ඒකකයකට කොච්චර overhead දාන්න ඕනද කියලා. Now you calculate by using a plant wide overhead rate based on direct hours are used or departmental overhead rates are used, whether you are going to use single rate or departmental rate. So do it quickly, simple calculation, but do it quickly. I'll just oh, 1 minute. I need to share the screen, but I want to first stop recording because the recording has to be broken into two. That's better, 2 or 3.